To start off this documentary, here is a video that will briefly explain the situation in Syria.
Good morning, John. So I got some good news and I got some bad news about Syria. That's a lie. I only have bad news. It is only bad news. It is a terrible situation. But there is no solving problems that you don't understand. So, here it is. In the next 5 or 6 minutes, we're gonna understand Syria. At least more than we did before. Alright, let's start at the foundation of Syria. A bunch of Western powers are introducing the idea of nation-states to the rest of the world. They draw a shape on a piece of paper and say, this shape shall be Syria. Inside that shape are lots of different sorts of people who have various degrees of historical and social ties. There are Christians and Druze and Sunni Muslims and Alawites, and of course, pluralism does not necessarily breed violence, but let's just wait and see. Fast forward to the Cold War. The first world of the USA and the second world of the USSR are nabbing up alliances with the third world of everyone else. Russia nabbed Syria. Through a combination of diplomacy and giving guns, they helped the ostensibly socialist Ba'ath Party take control in Syria. The Ba'ath Party was run by Alawites. The leader was a guy whose last name was Assad, the father of the current Assad. And even though the Cold War is now over, though apparently no one has told the United States defense budgets, Russia continues to be closely allied with Syria and relies on Syria for its sweet warm water ports, which Russia lacks because it is Russia. In the years since the Ba'ath Party took over in 1970, Syria has become kind of a segregated place. The scholarships go to Alawi children, government contracts go to Alawi businesses. There are literally lanes of traffic that only Alawite people are allowed to drive in. The majority of Syria are Sunni Muslim. The official Sunni Muslim stance on Alawites is that they have rejected the teachings of Islam. So that, combined with the fact that they've been repressed for like 40 years, creates some sectarian tension that during the Arab Spring broke open. This is a struggle between a powerful minority and a disenfranchised majority. Peaceful pro-democracy protests were swiftly punished by the Assad regime, first by putting people in jail, then they kept protesting, then they started to kill them, then they protested more violently, then they started to torture their children and kill their families. It's bad. Then a big hunk of the army defected and became the Free Syrian Army. It continues, however, to get more confusing. While the original protest was a pro-democracy protest and there are still many rebels fighting for a democratic future, there are now tons of different rebel groups that all want different things. And some of them like each other, and some of them don't. Some of them love Al-Qaeda, and some of them love democracy. This isn't Star Wars. There's no rebel alliance. It's messy and it's muddy. And to make things worse, if we are talking about Star Wars here, Assad has basically killed Luke Skywalker and Han and Leia and blown up Alderaan, and Admiral Akbar's gone too. Assad's forces have killed so many non-Alawite civilian and military leaders that it's completely unclear who the heck would take over if he left. Now, for years all this was happening outside of the international spotlight, but then chemical weapons. President Obama had previously stated that there is a red line and that if Syria uses chemical weapons, something. And it looks as if Assad's forces did use chemical weapons. Sarin gas was definitely used, and it was definitely used on the enemies of Assad's regime. Now, claims to the contrary to me feel very much like 1960s America, where white people actually believed that African-American radicals bombed an African-American church in order to make the KKK look bad. Russia has veto power in the UN Security Council, and they have never allowed the UN to take action against Assad because Russia loves Assad, and he's the only ally they have in the Middle East, and those warm water ports. Now, Obama wants to enforce his red line, even without the UN support, and the American people are like, oh God, no, not again, no! So the president's like, well, once upon a time it was Congress's job to decide whether or not we attacked other countries, so let's let them decide, which is funny because, as we all know, if Congress were on fire, Congress could not pass the Pour Water on Congress Act. Just like Russia needs Assad, Assad needs Russia, and so Assad is willing to do a lot of what Russia tells him to do, which leads us to John Kerry making the weirdest possible accidental act of diplomacy of all time when he was like, yeah, I mean, Assad could prevent us from attacking them, he could assuage us by giving us all of his chemical weapons. It's not gonna happen, but he could do it. And Russia was like, oh, hey, hi, oh, we can do that. This is nice for Russia because now they get to put on the well-mannered diplomatic hero hat, which they don't get to wear very much lately due to all of their corruption and dismantling of democracy and freedom. Plus, let's not forget that Russia blocking any possible action by the UN is why we are in this mess in the first place. Now, it's possible that Russia is just enabling Assad squads stalling. And if it happens, it will be extremely complicated to collect a bunch of chemical weapons out of a country that is in the middle of a civil war. But it would be an excellent outcome to be able to enforce the international norm against chemical weapons, not have to blow anything up, or ask Congress to do anything. What it comes down to is that anyone who says that they know what we should do in this situation is either being disingenuous or they don't know what they're talking about. Maybe attacking Assad and empowering the rebels will save millions of lives, maybe it will cost millions of lives. Maybe the power vacuum left by Assad would be filled with Islamists who would be sympathetic to Al-Qaeda. The problem with the future is that it is unknowable, and so we don't really know what we should do. But there is something that we can do, maybe not for the overall geopolitics of the situation, but for individual people. The Syrian civil war has displaced over 2 million people, and if you would like to join me in donating to the UN Refugee Agency, that money will go to helping those people rebuild their lives. John, I'll see you on Tuesday.
There's been a decreasing amount of hospitals to treat injured Syrians due to bombings, raids, and overall destruction of hospitals. For the rest of my project, I'm going to be talking less about Syria as a whole and more about children in Syria and their situation. The estimated number of accounted for Syrian refugees in neighboring countries is well over 600,000. There's an estimated 153,307 refugees in Turkey, 203,480 in Lebanon, 70,535 in Iraq, 30,774 in Egypt, and 185,244 in Jordan. 5.5 million children are in need of humanitarian assistance, which is over 50% of all Syrian children. 1.2 out of the 2.5 million refugees are children. Over 35,000 children are born as refugees. 3 million children are out of school, and over 4,000 schools have been destroyed or are currently being used as shelters. There are many associations trying to address the problem of children in Syria. These include fundraisers by UNICEF and Save the Children.
صار ضرب طيران ومدفعيات، كل شي صار يضربونا، ضربوا البناية جنبنا الموبيلنا، نزحنا، خافوا اخواتي الصغار، صاروا يبكوا كل ما تيجي الطيارة.
نحن بمارع صار الضرب وضربوا وهدموا بيوت وقتلوا عالم وصارت جريحات كلها يفوتوا على تركيا.
وبعدين ما شو بعد
كيف كنتي حاسة انتوا جايين على الطريق؟
كنت خايفة
شني طبعاً هبينا نحن كل وقت شن هبينا نحن صوجرنا ما ما قبل لا إذا بعبد الساقة لدها ما شاء الله وقت شن هبينا نحن صوجرنا يتكانوا صوجرنا وقت أون كرفات
يعني شلون احنا عايشين هون والاجواء وشلون يعني نستحمل شلون واحد انه مات له واحد اجى لهون تغرب وعذاب وهاي
صعوبات بالواحد لما نام بيصير صعوبات كتير مثلا لما بتشتي الدنيا يصير وحلة كتير وبنقى وبنتبل
العيش بمخيم زعتري هون يعني الحمد لله، بس بسوريا أحسن. واللي بده شيء نرجع بس على بلدنا وما بدنا شيء.
بتمنى انه يهدى الوضع بحمص، نرجع على بلدنا، نرجع لعالمنا، نوقف هالقتل، هالجرح اللي كل يوم نحن عم نشوفه بشكل ما طبيعي.
Over 10,000 children have been killed in the Syrian civil war. Others have been raped, tortured, maimed, and recruited for combat.
يوم رحنا الناس كانت بالأراضي وما في حدا يقدر ينقذها. شعوري انحبط كثير ويأست من حالي ومن الدنيا كلها.
كان يدب أول شيء اسمه كان يفوت علينا دبابات وطيران، كان يدب براميل، كلها يعني رحلة ما ظلش إشي داعي.
عائلتنا تركت سوريا لأنه القصف فوق رؤوسنا. القصف ما تتصوري قد ايه. نكون نايمين هيك يعني تعبانين كل النهار، ما احنا نايمين ما تسمع الا صوت القذيفة فوق راسنا.
وشايفينهم بعيوننا، عصي هروانات وكهرباء، قتلوهم بلوك، شيلوا عروسهم، اعتقالات، ضرب.
I've heard stories of torture, stories of abuse, of children being hung up on walls and beaten, of children helping to dig out dead bodies. I've just never heard anything like this in my life. Of course, it's impossible to verify these stories. Save the Children doesn't have access into Syria, but I personally have spoken to over 50 people across this camp, and the stories are consistent. Child after child that I've spoken to here in this camp has told me how worried they are about themselves and their family. But more than that, they're terrified for the children that are still in Syria. We have to do something to stop this level of violence. So we're asking the UN to monitor every single human rights violation against children. Unless we know exactly who is responsible and exactly what they've done, we cannot hold them to account.
طيب مين ما يقدر يساعدنا نحن السوريين يساعدونا؟ شو ما يقدروا يساعدونا؟ إذا كانت شغلة صغيرة بتصير كبيرة.
In conclusion, children refugees from Syria is a serious problem, and if not addressed immediately, will result in a continuous increase in children's death and injuries throughout the rest of the Syrian civil war. If you want to donate to charities that help children in Syria, companies such as UNICEF, Charity Navigator, and Save the Children all have reliable charities.